Hello, so my name is Lily and today I am going to be reading The Golden Raven by Nora Sakavic. I just finished my reread of The Sunshine Court and I'm so excited to read this one next, right now, literally right now. I sort of explained it in that first vlog that is up now if you want to go watch my full spoilery thoughts for The Sunshine Court, but I am making full dedicated spoiler filled reading vlogs for each of the books in this second Foxhole Court All for the Game series. That's a very confusing way to put it. If you don't know, the All for the Game trilogy by Nora Sakavic is the original series, 3 books in this world, and she has since published 2 more books in that world. I don't even know if they're technically part of the same series because they're following a different character. So I guess it's kind of a companion series. And so far, the first 2 books published in that companion series are The Sunshine Court and The Golden Raven, which is what I'm going to be reading today. So I'm about to get in my pajamas for the night, so I thought I would just intro this video while I still look nice. And we're gonna get into it. This book is considerably longer than the first one. It's about 150 pages longer. So I'm excited, but I'm scared and I'm nervous. And the last vlog for The Sunshine Court was a reread. I read that immediately when it came out, like 10 months ago. So I knew what to expect. I knew what I was getting into. I have been avoiding spoilers for this kind of like the plague. It hasn't been very hard. I just haven't been going on Tumblr. That's the only social media that like I get content about it on, so it hasn't actually been that hard. But I've been like, oh, maybe I'll go on Tumblr. No, don't go on Tumblr. You'll get spoiled. So I'm so excited, chomping at the bit, fiending, however you want to say it, to read this book. So let's just do it. Page 2, and I've already got something to say. Yeah. Jean saying Cody's lot the same way that the foxes say Andrew's lot. That's very fun for me. I mentioned this when I was rereading the first book, how Jean knew the word assuage, but not the word egregious, because English is his second language. He knows the word convalesced. I'm just, I'm a little confused about his English vocabulary. Assuage and convalesce, but not egregious? Like, he uses some, maybe not advanced vocabulary, but some formal words. Definitely things that, you know, people wouldn't throw around in casual conversation. But he does. How good is his English again? Better than your French. Okay. Jean and his cunty little comebacks. Better than your French, Jean said with enough of an edge. Derek put his hands up in self-defense. Good enough to tell you your failures in our scrimmages this week are on your weaknesses and not my strengths. You've wasted so much time giving ground as a Trojan you don't remember how to hold it. It should be no surprise your opponents can run you over like an unwanted dog. What the hell? Neil is the Fox's vice captain? Did we know that? Oh, that might be in the extra content. I have not read the extra content because I don't like reading long things on screens. And it's not like in print anywhere as a bind up, I don't think. So I haven't read the extra content, but that might be where we learn that Neil becomes vice captain. Neil becomes vice captain of the Foxes. Oh my god. We know that Jeremy has 3 siblings, 1 sister and 2 brothers, but we're getting hints that he at one point had a 4th sibling. He's talking about his dad missing all 5 for high school graduations. So perhaps a dead sibling? Which, if that is the case, I mean, presumably it is, Jean's dead sister. Again, presumably dead. Like, that's such good, oh my god, that's gonna be such a sad sharing of information, you know, if they ever get there. That's gonna hurt. Jean is always calling people children, especially Neil. Ill-bred is new, though. Calling Neil that ill-bred child. Page 31. We learn one of Jeremy's older brother's names. It's Joshua. Jeremy and Joshua. Do we think all the other siblings have J names? Because that would be crazy. And Joshua hasn't contacted Jeremy in years. They're estranged. But he texts him right after Grayson was killed. And he immediately drops his phone into his cup of coffee. Because whatever he said was just so atrocious. We don't get to learn what that thing is. Layla and Kat immediately know what is going on. They know all the context. We don't. Gene doesn't. Maybe he'll learn. Maybe we'll learn. We might learn on the next page. I don't even know. Jeremy wanting to teach himself French so that he can communicate with Gene in his native language without Gene having to teach him, because that brings up traumatic memories for him. I'm on page 33. I last updated you 2 pages ago. Yeah. This book is 475 pages-ish. So, this might be a long one. Anyways, characters speaking, or love interests, characters, whatever, speaking the other character's native language at them, or, hearing the other person speak their native language for the first time, and, it making them freak out, is probably one of the best tropes. Is that a trope? Plot devices? Scenes? Whatever. In romances. And this is not a romance, but, it kind of is, I'm very excited to see how this is going to progress. This is Gene talking about Kevin. He was not my partner. It was not his job to protect me, and I didn't want him to. I just wanted him to die. That's crazy. That's crazy and so abrupt that it almost made me laugh. That's funny. You just wanted him to die. And then I was like, oh my god, wait, okay. You guys have so many issues, and we spend so much time learning about them, and still we've done less than scratch the surface. I think we actually knew this in the first book, but I didn't realize that. But we learn Jeremy's other siblings' names. There's Joshua, like I said. Annalise is his older sister, and then maybe Bryson is his younger brother. He's talking about the age order, and I'm not understanding it. He's doing it in a confusing way. But I think it's Joshua, Annalise, Jeremy, Bryson. Perhaps another sibling that something happened to. And right now we know that Jeremy's family, or Jeremy himself, has a bit of a sordid past. I think he's done some illegal things and gotten into some hot water, and so his family doesn't really trust him. And they also don't like him. And his mother, Matilda with an H, is really pressuring him to take the LSAT, and he does not want to. So, typical overbearing mother family dynamic stuff. Okay, this is kind of crazy. We learn that Jeremy's family and his mother are just homophobic. That's their issue. But then his mom is trying to get him to, go back to dating this girl that maybe he was seeing. She thinks they could be a good match, all things considered.
It's Layla. The girl that she thinks he should date is Layla. I just did not put that together. It comes up again later, but it's Layla. Sorry.
Matilda was relentless. The war is taking a toll on public opinion. We need to make a statement. We have no quarrel with our Muslim neighbors here at home, just with the terrorists threatening our safety and sovereignty overseas. She's not even practicing, Jeremy said. Even better. The relief in her smile irked him into saying, Nabil's Muslim, what about him? And then she gets mad at him for being gay. We're on page 40. Oh, his family's, in politics? I think Jeremy's step-grandfather, or just his regular grandfather. I have no idea. It's confusing. Because he's, kind of estranged from his father, but his stepfather, hates him too. So his mom says, welcoming her into the family could be a good look for your grandfather if his team can sort out how to safely spin it. He's losing ground with younger voters. They have more opinions than common sense. So I'm guessing his... Oh yeah, and then he goes, he is not my... Enough, Matilda warned him. We've been over this 100 times. So I guess it's his step-grandfather, and he is a, Republican conservative politician. Did we learn this in the first book? I could be just completely losing my mind. I just read it. I did. I just read it. Nora is being very vague with Jeremy's past and his family and what exactly went down with his family. Just like the same thing that just happened when he got the text from his brother and we don't see what the text is. Even though we were in Jeremy's head, we were in his perspective for that part. It's the same thing now. His brother Bryson, I almost said Grayson, wrong character, kind of is trying to blackmail him or threaten him. But since they both know like what he's threatening him about, so they're not like naming it or like explicitly referring to it, so we don't get to know what it is because they don't need to say it out loud. And like I get it, like building up like, ooh, what actually happened, but like I just want to know, like I don't, like what could it be? I just want to know what happened. Jeremy's stepdad bribed his friends with benefits, Jeremy's like friends with benefits guy, to stop seeing him in exchange for a car, a BMW, and he took it. And Jeremy just like snuck into his window. You know what, good for him. Good for him. Okay, I didn't really mention it in my vlog for the first book. Jeremy, Kat, and Layla's cardboard cutout of a golden retriever named Bark Bark von Barkenstein. Apparently they have a picture of him framed on the windowsill. They have a framed picture of a cardboard cutout of a dog. And frankly, I would not expect anything less from them. Jean saying that Jeremy goes away when he goes home. The fuck? Oh my god. Most of the Ravens had identified as straight, but with so few women on the line and the team so isolated from everyone else, they'd made do with any man willing to tumble? What? New insult unlocked. Jean has just called Neil that malfunctioning cretin. This is really funny. Jean is trying to correct Derek's stance, and he knocks him off balance, and this is the interaction that happens. Danger, Will Robinson, Derek yelped as he stumbled. There was no such person on the team, so Jean waited in silence for him to take his place again. That's so funny. We do now have confirmation that Jeremy has a fourth sibling named Noah, and he passed away 4 years ago. On page 106. Jean seeing Javier's top surgery scars and thinking that he got heart surgery is really funny and like really sweet. He's like concerned. Well, hello. Hi there. Good boy. You're so cute. You don't even know. You tired? Yeah? You want to read this book with me? Jeremy saying that Andrew is very good, and Kevin saying he will be court, the same way that Jean said about Andrew at the beginning, the very, very beginning of the Sunshine Court, saying he will be court. Like, oh my gosh. It's talked about more in the original series, how Andrew's apathy towards Exie is kind of at odds with his skill, but I just love when the best players, like obviously Neil is a good player, but when like the best players in Exie, Kevin and Jean, obviously some of the best players in collegiate level Exie, are saying that he's amazing and that he'll be court. Like, I keep saying this, I can't stop saying it, but like seeing the main characters of the original series through the eyes of these other characters, I love it. This interaction is confusing me. I don't really get what's happening. Jeremy assumed Jean was used to Kevin's bossiness after so many years together, but he glanced at Jean's face to gauge his mood. The look on Jean's face, there and gone again in a heartbeat, was almost enough to startle him off the doorframe. Jeremy had no time to dwell on this sudden understanding. Jean felt Jeremy stare on him and was thoughtless enough to return it. Maybe Jeremy should have schooled his surprise, but he wasn't expecting Jean to flinch like he'd been struck. Jean turned sharply away, a vain attempt to hide his reaction, and yanked his buttons loose with a force that should have ripped at least one of his off its threads, whatever. Is he flinching in reaction to Jeremy looking at him. Jeremy looks at him all the time. Was his flinch the reaction that startled Jeremy? And these paragraphs are confusing to me. This happened a lot in the first series. Nora Sakavic would like not explain things. Like the characters would know and we wouldn't, and not in like a like keeping things from the reader way, but just in like literally just like this, like not explaining it properly. And because it's like obvious that we're supposed to know what happened, we're supposed to understand this, and I don't. I hadn't really noticed it. It hasn't been as bad, or hasn't really been there at all in the Sunshine Court or this book, but like this is the first time I've really noticed it, and I noticed it a lot in the original series, so hopefully it doesn't continue like this, because we were doing really well. Okay, I figured it out. I just had to read the rest of the page. I'll give you the context here. Gene hadn't denied his sexuality the first time Jeremy brought it up, and he'd been more annoyed than anything when Jeremy teased him about Layla last month. He'd gotten caught checking them out more than once this summer, but he was always quick to retreat into his own space afterward. It always felt more like caution and avoidance than fear or self-loathing. Jeremy couldn't imagine why Kevin alone would inspire such a vehement reaction. I can imagine. So the look that he was giving Kevin, or the way he was looking at Kevin, that Jeremy caught him, was love, was yearning. Oh my gosh. Lost love, what could have been. Kill me now, actually. That's really hard. They're talking about a mistake Jeremy made in a game last season, and Kevin is annoyed at him. And he says, "You are his better in every way. You should have slammed him into the wall." He had later that night at the hotel room, but Jeremy didn't think Kevin needed to hear that. The interview in the first series with Kathy, I don't know, it's with Kevin and Neil to introduce Neil to the world as the newest member of their team, and Raiko shows up. That was like that was so stressful. Like, we started off the book so stressful, and this interviewer, Hannah, bringing up Jean's little sister, I'm so nervous. Like, I'm stressed out. I need to document my stress before something crazy actually happens. Raiko collecting every article about Drake assaulting Andrew and pinning them above his bed is crazy. As we remember, Raiko was the one who orchestrated Drake being at Andrew's house so that he could assault him again. Pinning the articles above his bed, forcing Jean to read them out loud and whipping him when he stopped, like that. Like, of course, obviously we know how terrible he is, but it just keeps getting worse. On page 175, Jean calls Andrew a fair-haired rat. Not to his face, he thinks it in his head, but that's really funny. So much happens in these books, and Jean's past is so full of stuff that he's trying to hide that you kind of forget about the mafia of it all. Like, the interview that they just did, it sort of came out in the middle of it that Interpol arrested Jean's parents, and Jeremy's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, somebody's got to tell me something. Like, what's happening? And I don't know if I mentioned this in the first book, in the Sunshine Court, Neil, my God, sort of told Jean that his family would have to take the fall for something that was, I don't remember, something that the Moriyamas did, or something that Neil did, or like to protect Neil, in order for the FBI to protect Neil and Jean. I guess Jean's family would have to take the fall for some, I don't remember. See, it gets confusing, and I'm reading it literally right now. And so in this interview, after this interview, Jeremy's like, what's going on, Jean? You wanna let me know? And he's like, my parents are business partners with Nathan Wesninsky. There was a heartbeat of startled silence, and then Jeremy asked, the so-called butcher, Neil's father, that Nathan Wesninsky? And like, I kind of forgot that, like, he didn't know. Like, I kind of forgot that that's another layer of things that Gene is hiding, because he is so focused on protecting Raiko and the Ravens, kind of, and hiding the abuse that he faced from Jeremy and the rest of the team, that like there's not room in his head to even think about hiding the mafia ties that his family has. Not that like he's being careless with that information, but just like he's got a lot in his mind, on his plate. He's not really thinking about it, so we're not really thinking about it until, you know, this plot point happens. And also the fact that no one knows that the Moriyamas is a crime family. Like, they're like, oh, I can't speak out against the Moriyamas, like, of all the connections they have and the ties they have. It's like, oh yeah, right, like, forgot about that. Like, they're bad and evil for so many other reasons that you just forget that they're the mafia. So that just happened, and it's gonna be interesting to see Jeremy's reaction to this information. I'll keep you updated, obviously. Bryson has showed up at the house to accost Jeremy in the wake of this interview dropping, and he says this to Layla: "Is Nora Sakavic allowed to write that? I don't know if that's, like, okay." "You don't know who you're messing with," Bryson said, glaring up at Jean. "I'm a Wilshire. Who the fuck are you?" "I'm Jean Moreau," Jean said, and Bryson tensed up so fast it was a wonder he didn't crack a bone in the process. Oh my god. Love. I am on chapter 11, page 205, and I'm finding myself not bored, but this book is pretty slow. I'm not complaining about that. I think I'm just wanting to note that not a lot is happening. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, things are happening, but like not really. I don't know. There's a lot less XE gameplay. Well, the school year hasn't started yet, so they're not playing games yet. But like, just a lot less XE in general. We're not really seeing a ton of their practices, and I'm finding myself missing that. Jean started doing, like, showing some Raven drills to the freshmen because they wanted to learn, and now, like, after practice, like for an hour after practice, they do Raven drills, but like we don't really we saw that once, and I'm not quite halfway through yet, so like there's so much time for stuff to happen. But as of right now, I'm kind of wanting more XE. I've definitely said this before. I don't remember if it was in this vlog or the one for the first book, but Jean is 19, and that's actually really crazy because I'm 19, and like that's like really crazy. And I think Neil and Andrew are also, and I guess Aaron too by extension, are also all 19. So I think I first read this book series when I was 13, maybe. Let me check. Let me consult Goodreads. 5 years ago is when I first read the initial series. So I was 13, 14, and you know, at the time I'm reading about these college students. Even though Neil was like 18, I was like, oh my god, like they're so old, like they're in college, oh my gosh. Even though like he was a freshman, like he was a teenager as well, like that's not, you know, he was not super old by any means in any capacity. And I think I reread this series every other year since then, definitely multiple times at least, and each time it gets less and less, obviously none of it's believable, but their ages get less and less believable. Because the whole thing is like, yeah, right. But like, I am their age now. What the hell? I don't like that's actually crazy. And not because like I'm getting older. I don't really like care like about the fact that I initially read it when I was so young and now I'm their age, but in the way that they whoa, Jesus Christ, rest in peace, Pope Francis. They go through so much in their lives, but also just like in the books, and they're only 19. Or younger. That's a lot. I don't like it. What happens when the next time I reread it and I'm Kevin's age? I'm Jeremy's age. No. Jeremy is very much under his family's thumb. And I get that like things are complicated, and like they're definitely like paying for his school and whatever, whatever, I don't know. But he's an adult. He's like 21 at least. No, yeah, he's like 20. He's a 5th year senior. He's like 22, 23. So like I understand that things are complicated, but I'm like leave their house. Like, you already basically live with Kat and Layla anyway. Like, you don't have to go back there. Like, since like this kind of whole media storm, he ignored his parents and his family kind of like all weekend so that he could be with Jean and the team while things like get crazy and they're sorting everything out. And now his mom is like forcing him to stay at home for the next week. And Jeremy lives at home over the summer, but during the school year I'm confused. During the summer, he lives with Kat and Layla, and during the school year, he lives at home because I guess his mom forces him to. But he's an adult, and like I know they'd probably like stop paying for his school, but they're a good family. Like I said, his mom really is desperate for him to go to law school, and his stepdad, he's a cop. He's covered up a lot of stuff that like Jeremy did as a teenager, like for attention. Like, they're a good family. They're very wealthy, and if they were to stop paying for Jeremy's school, like I feel like that would just reflect badly on them. Like, that wouldn't be proper. Even, you know, if they have a son that like is not involved with their family anymore, that's not proper. But having a son that's not involved in their family and who dropped out of college because they stopped paying for it, I think that would reflect worse on them, and I don't think they'd want that. So like I think there has to be something else that we just don't know that's keeping Jeremy like beholden to them, because he literally could leave. He could leave. And he's like desperate to. He's like, one more, like, oh, it's just one more year and then I'm out, and then I can go play XE on a team wherever I want. But then he's like, he's really letting his mother push him into law school, and it's like, I guess like she'll cut him off and he won't have any money, but he's gonna go play for probably like a class 1 XE team, and it won't matter if he doesn't have any of his parents' money because he's gonna be making his own money. He's gonna be a professional athlete. He just doesn't have to do any of this stuff that they want him to do. And it's upsetting me. He's like, what did he say? Avoiding his family this weekend had brought about the expected consequences. He was to stay home this week. His parents couldn't keep him from attending practice, but they knew what time it let out and roughly how long the drive would be. It's actually like really upsetting me. And not in a way that I'm like blaming Jeremy, but in a way that I'm wishing Nora Sakavic would sort of explain his situation more to us, because right now it just seems like he doesn't really have a reason to stay. He does not really like his family. Like, I keep saying, like, he's had falling out with like multiple of his siblings. They're all homophobic. Like, there's not a real like anchor keeping him there. Like, if he had one sibling that he cared about, that he wanted to like be there for, that would make sense, but there's not. As of right now, there's like nothing stopping him from leaving besides, and this is me just assuming too, like I don't even, like, besides the fact that they're paying for his school. He just deserves so much better. Every time he's like, I wish I could stay, but I have to go home. I'm like, no, Jeremy, you don't. You can stay, it's okay. Every time I say something that I'm confused about, it gets addressed, like, the next page. Jeremy's mom, Matilda, has hidden his passport, social security card, and birth certificate. Ooh, just dropped the book. What the fuck? That's crazy. Like, that's crazy. And I guess, like, there's nothing you can do about it because his stepdad's a cop. Fuck. Dude, that's wild. She's sneaky, that Matilda. It says, Annalise was the only one of them allowed to live on her own year-round, a reward for being the least disappointing child. You're all adults. They're all adults. They're all adults. They're all adults. They're adults. They're adults. They can like, he can leave. He can leave. I don't see this book or this series ending. No, this book. Like, I don't know if I see this book ending without Jeremy leaving. Like, how can he not? I don't know. I know it's complicated. I know their circumstances and everything's different. Like, whatever, for everyone, whatever, it's his family, whatever. I don't care. He can leave. He's an adult. And he should, because they suck. And literally, they do nothing good for him. They don't love him. Like, he needs to actually be with his, frankly, his real family. Kat and Layla and Jean and the team. Yeah. Yeah. So, Jeremy's mom just said, you do have some white friends, I assume. What the fuck? This racist ass family. Her and Bryson, that's crazy. Jeremy's smile froze on his face. You just saw one of them. It was Kat and Jean. And she goes, I didn't recognize him. That's really funny. Wait, what? He's lying his ass off. I'm really obsessed with this. I didn't recognize him. Asking if she could recognize any of the Trojans was a surefire way to get on her bad side. Okay, so she hates Exy. Okay, great. Good to know. So Jeremy only said, a friend introduced us. I'm pretty sure he has a crush on Layla, he added before she could ask him what sort of friend Jean was. That foreigner teammate of yours put your brother through a windshield, Matilda reminded him. Supposedly, Jeremy said. All of Layla's neighbors say differently about what happened with Bryson. So, like, she knows what happened. She knows that Jean is on the team, but she does not give a flying fuck about him or, like, what he looks like. That's really funny that she's saying all this and, like, she didn't even know that it was him. That's really funny. Might have been saying the wrong thing this whole time. It might not be Jeremy's step-grandfather, or what the fuck, Jeremy's stepdad. That's the cop. It might be his step-grandfather. Every time someone says, your grandfather, and he goes, he's not my grandfather. But it could be the opposite way around. Wait, I don't know what I just said. Either his stepdad is a cop and his step-grandfather is a senator, or his stepdad is a senator and his step-grandfather is a cop. I don't remember. I don't know. I don't know. But I might have been saying it wrong this whole time. I haven't really brought up his step-grandfather because he doesn't like him, he doesn't talk about him, so. I've been saying that these books take place in like 2012 or 2013 because I thought that's when they came out, that's when they were written. I don't know if you can hear me. Does the microphone pick up any of that? They're talking about the guillotine. Someone drew a picture of a guillotine and taped it to their front door. And Jean says, we haven't used the guillotine in 30 years. Almost exactly 30 years, Layla agreed. September 1977. 30 years from 1977 is 2007.
It does, in fact, take place in 2007. The first series is like 2006 to 2007. And right now, it's still 2007. So, crazy. Crazy.
Some reporters accosted them outside the house and brought up someone from Jeremy's past named Dexter. Can't remember if we've heard that name before. And he also just said he is, Jeremy was required by the university to be in class unless he was at a game or on death's doorstep. I don't know if that's because he's a captain, team captain, or something with his family and his parents. I don't know how college sports work. Another layer. We're slowly unpeeling Jeremy Knox. Maybe his uncle's a cop. Who? Am I just not paying attention? Or, like, who is his family? Okay, the pottery class that Jean and Jeremy took was really cute. That was, like, such a fun little happy scene. And now they're back at home and there's a reporter on their doorstep being a bitch. I don't imagine, he's actually, like, I know the Trojans have to, like, be nice and put up, like, a positive front, like, that's their whole thing. But he says, how do you see this working out? If you keep asking me to leave and I keep saying no, then what? I don't imagine you'll call your uncle on me, Knox. So I guess his uncle's the cop. But if, like, I would be punching him in the face, I'd be knocking him to the ground. I would be making the situation worse. My hair looks kind of wild right now. Okay, and you've definitely seen me in the shirt before in this video. It's just, I only have so many pajamas and I read at night. So you're getting me before I go to bed every single time you see me. Came here to say, I think I mentioned this when I was reading the first book, how I was wondering what the timeline was going to be of the second one, because the first book, it doesn't even take place over the school year at all. It's like maybe the last month of the previous school year and then the first half of summer, kind of ish. And I was wondering if this next book was going to be the second half of summer and then the first half of the school year, and then the third book would be the last half of the school year. And that's kind of what's happening so far. Chapter 13, page 245, about exactly halfway through the book. And the first sentence of this chapter is, Jean's first week at USC was a bit of a mess, but at least it was an eye-opening experience. So they've just started school, and I think my sort of hypothesis about the timeline is going to be correct. Of course, we'll see how much of the year this half gets us. I'm very excited to start seeing the games. Very excited to start seeing the games. I've been missing that a lot. A lot. There's a ton of other stuff to contend with, lots of things going on. Everything's kind of a bit all over the place, and not in a bad way, just like in the fact that like these characters have a lot of things going on in their lives. And now to add school and games on top of that, it's gonna be fun for me because I like when they're at school and they're hanging out together as a team, and when they play in their games. That's, you know, the probably the biggest reason I like sports books is the sports. Like, yeah, it's the found family, whatever, but it's the sports. Like, so I'm really excited to get back to the games. I don't know when their first game is gonna be. Hopefully it's soon. Again, this is making it sound like I'm bored, and I'm not. I'm reading you this whole section. You showered again, Jean said as Jeremy got settled at his side. Jeremy stared blank-faced at him. Different cologne. Jean dragged a highlighter over a relevant section of his notes. This one does not suit you whatsoever. Jeremy tugged at his shirt to sniff it. Oh, I didn't even notice. Not mine, he explained when Jean glanced his way. I bumped into a friend on my way back to campus. Is it really that offensive? Knowing it had come off another man's body made it twice as terrible. Yes. That's crazy. Knowing it had come off another man's body made it twice as terrible. That's crazy. And like in a normal romance, like a strictly romance book, it's not that crazy. But we're halfway through book 2, and like there's not a romance here. Like there's gonna be, but this is probably like the most romantic inclination Jean has had toward Jeremy, or that Jean has expressed towards Jeremy. He's expressed his physical attraction, not really anything of this caliber, this jealousy. Nora Sakavic, she has a way of making you forget that it's a slow burn. Like, it's so slow burn that you almost forget it's happening. That's what it is. Yeah, it's so slow burn you almost forget it's happening. And then he says something like this, and you're like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm gonna have to wait a year for the third book. I haven't mentioned it before, but if you took a shot every time Nora Sakavic writes the words at length, you would be dead. At the fall banquet, Jeremy's freshman year, he brought his baby brother Noah as his +1, and Jeremy left to go to a party, and Noah went to the roof of the hotel and jumped off of it, and Jeremy hasn't been to a banquet since. And Cody is telling Cody is telling Jean all of this, and they say, Jeremy wasn't the kind of guy you wanted to get in an argument with back then, you know? Jean had no idea what that was supposed to mean. Me neither! What the fuck? Oh my god. There's so much. I literally keep saying this, that there's so much we don't know, but there's so much we don't know. Oh my god, this camera takes so long to autofocus, and it actually pisses me off because I want to like capture my expressions immediately, and I can't because it looks like it just did. And it's actually really, if you've seen me open the camera, turn the camera on, and immediately have a crazy look on my face, I've been holding it on my face and waiting for the camera to focus, just so you know. Anyways, what I was making that face for is Jean is talking to Jeremy about the fact that he is from Marseille, and so the accent that he speaks French with is different than the Parisian French that Jeremy is learning. And he's like, no one will take you seriously if you learn French with a southern accent. Does that really matter? Jeremy asked, studying Jean with a stare that felt prying. I'm not learning French for anyone but you. Getting kicked in the chest would be a little less painful. Jean desperately wished he'd sat with Cody. Sitting thigh to thigh with Jeremy while he said such things so seriously was cruel. Oh my gosh. See, you get these like romantic moments and then you just get Jean's trauma stifling him. And it's just really, like, I know he's going to overcome, hopefully, most of his issues. Healing is not linear, whatever. Like, you can't be like fully okay, especially like after what he's gone through. I know, but he's gonna get past some stuff. I need to believe that that's true. And I don't mean to say that like Jeremy's gonna fix him or heal him. Not at all am I saying that, but Jeremy's he's gonna help him. He is. Jeremy's gonna be a big help, and he already is, and I know that. And again, I feel like I'm just repeating myself. I'm not learning French for anyone but you. Oh my god. I can't wait to finish this book so I can go on Tumblr. The Ravens' first game of the season will be against the Foxes. Oh my god. Imagine living in this world. I definitely said this in the first video, if not in this one too. I'm just repeating myself over and over again at this point. Sorry, I don't know. Imagine living in this world. Imagine going through this, like the events of this book, of these books, being like in your pop culture, in your current events. Like, that's crazy. The Ravens' first match of the season being against the Foxes. Fuck. That's crazy. Whoa, what the fuck? What the fuck? Excuse me. The rematch against Palmetto State on Friday, September 14th. Weight on the bed I can't say these words. Weight on the bed had him drawing his arm back. Jean was leaning over him, one hand braced on the mattress beside Jeremy's head. His charcoal dress shirt was only half bun, and Jeremy instinctively followed the line of his throat down to his exposed collarbone. What is going on? Okay, mood immediately gone, tension immediately broken, and not in a good way, because they're talking about Cody, and Jeremy says, they're a good bean. Jesus Christ. A good bean? It really is 2012. 2007. Whatever fucking year it is. I have no idea. This really is a Tumblr book. That's what I should say. They're a good bean. Jesus Christ. Okay, we just got just the beginning of the banquet and a confrontation with the team that hates USC. Apparently, Jeremy did something to like damage or destroy the reputation of their team captain, and so they're mad at him. He gets into this confrontation with this guy named Rusty Connors. So that's great, and I was waiting with bated breath. It didn't get too crazy. We also didn't get that much new information. We get an insinuation that Jeremy used to have a coke problem, and he also just keeps calling him Jeremy Wilshire. Also, I know it's probably Wilshire, but we're not British. That's the British way of saying it, you know? So I'm gonna keep saying Wilshire. It happened. It happened. It happened. Yeah. Give me a name, Jean said. I will kill him. After Jeremy comes back to the hotel room from a late night tryst, shall we say, with some bruises in some compromising places. And Jean is not having any of that. Yeah. No big deal. NBD, guys. NBD. How do I turn this off? He's trying to convince Jean that, like, nothing happened. Like, it was consensual, like, it was fine. And he doesn't need him to, like, do anything. And he says, If you won't trust me, trust Layla. She hates all my partners. She wouldn't protect them from you. True, Layla started to say, but Jean's fierce, they are not your partners, was louder. Because Jean is his partner, because they're partners. On and off the court, of course. And they're there for each other, and they protect each other, and they're partners. Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Now Jeremy's talking about his family. Why is the light like purple right now? Whatever. And he's saying, okay, his brother and sister, Bryson and Annalise, got in a car accident, and they got hurt pretty bad, and they got prescribed some pain pills, and Bryson never stopped taking them. And he says, I'm still not sure how he got a hold of them when his prescription ran out, since Mom and Warren both work at the hospital, but I never asked him. Who's Warren? Is Warren his stepdad? Does his stepdad, is his stepdad a doctor, his uncle a cop, and his step-grandfather a politician? Did I get it right, finally? After we're 2/3 of the way into the book? This is really sad. So, Bryson would give pills to Jeremy and then said he had something stronger and introduced him to cocaine, and he brought that to, it was his senior year of high school, and so he brought all that to his freshman year at USC. And at the banquet, he was invited to a gay sex party. That's the best way to phrase it, I guess, among sort of the closeted players of the Western college XC teams. And he brought cocaine. And when his brother, I thought Noah was his younger brother, but he's his older brother. It says Joshua and Noah were Irish twins, and I think Joshua's the oldest. And so when Noah jumped off the roof at the banquet, of the hotel, and the cops, went to find Jeremy, they found all these gay men having sex and being drunk and high at this party. It, ruined the lives of a lot of the players. They had to transfer schools, they had to drop out. Their, XC career effectively died. The old captain of that team that hates the Trojans, he was the oldest, and he was the one who sort of hosted the parties every year, and so all the drugs and alcohol got pinned on him. That's what that is. And I'm assuming Jeremy is just now saying he doesn't want to talk about Noah anymore, but I'm assuming what's gonna end up why Joshua doesn't talk to him anymore is because he blames him for Noah's death. And that's probably why all of his siblings don't really like him. But also they're homophobic. It's a lot of things. They're in the locker room gearing up for their first game of the season. I'm very excited. But I'm just remembering in the first book when the Trojans played against the Foxes, and they kept one lineup the entire time so that they would have the same number of players as the Foxes, so that they could see if they could actually beat them. Based on skill and not just based on number of players. And that's kind of a big deal. So that is a big deal. That's basically how the Foxes win the championship in the original series. But we don't see any of their practices that show that they are improving or that they are running drills in order to improve their stamina or, whatever it may be, that they are actually dedicated to not only relying on their size. And, they're good. They're a good team. I'm not saying that... I'm treating this like this is real. I'm not saying they're a bad team just because they have a lot of players. And I'm not. But it was kind of a big deal the way they played against the Foxes. And we just don't see any of their practices, and we don't see any changes to their playing style. I'm gonna cry. Kat always kisses Jean's forehead or his temple, or his cheek, really. And he just kissed her forehead back. Excuse me, her temple. He kissed her temple back. That's so sweet. I'm doing you a favor, Hinch said. Let me take out his teeth and he'll have an easier time sucking your dick. Whoa. I'm sure I misheard you. I'm sure you didn't. We all know that's why you signed him. No chance in hell to bleeps ended up on the same Western team by coincidence. Bitch, the whole team is gay. That's not true. Like 10 of them. 10 of them are gay. I didn't read the next sentence. Oh, Jeremy said, affecting surprise. That's rude, considering your current roster. I hope you apologize to them later. The fuck did you just say? That's so funny. He said, that's really funny because your team is gay as hell too. It makes you more interesting, Jean said. Not your capacity for unkindness, but how fiercely you fight against it. Oh my god. So that was a lot. Chapter 17. That was a lot. Oh my god. The game was so good. Oh, it was perfect. It was everything I wanted. It was so good. And then the aftermath of the game. I think that might have been like the worst moment in this book so far. I don't think it's as bad as like the moment in the first book.
I just didn't tell you what happened. I was like, oh my god, that was crazy. And then I didn't say actually what went down. But after their first home game, Zane, oh my god, Jean's, I'm like thinking about it again. I'm like, oh, Jean's old roommate in the nest, who would they had like a deal that he would protect Jean from Grayson in exchange for like Jean's help in getting added to the perfect court. And then once Neil entered the nest and Ryko added him to the perfect court instead, he sort of went back on his promise to Jean because he felt like Jean had gone back on his promise to him. And one day when Grayson like comes in his room and tries to hurt him, he just lets him. And so in this moment, he sort of corners Jean in the locker room and they fight physically and verbally. And Jean is trying so hard, and he keeps mentioning how he can see, like, he sees little flashes of the old Zane, but like too much has happened and he's like too far gone. He won't like listen to reason, and it was crazy. Yeah, it was.
On one side was Ryko's scathing, I will bleed this out of him, Kevin's weary, there was supposed to be a warning, Jean, and 1,000 judgmental slurs hurled his way with devastating accuracy. On the other hand was Neil's blasé, I'm sure he knows, when Jean warned him to hide Andrew from Icaro, the Trojans' casual acceptance of their floozy line, and a partnership that somehow survived 28 years in this heartless world. In the end, he found peace by counting. A cool evening breeze, rainbows, open roads, friends, fireworks. After a beat, he added a tentative coach, but that was so repulsive he had to reject it. Tetsuji Moriyama was also a coach, and Jean refused to associate Riemann and Wymack with that violent nightmare. He'd run into the same problem when trying to account for his teammates, but there was no easy solution this time. Jean turned it this way and that in increasing frustration, until a stray memory brought him up short. My kids, Wymack had called the Foxes, and Riemann had said the same this summer. You're one of my kids. Fathers, Jean thought, but that was so horrifically inappropriate he reached for the door handle. Maybe, he thought, after all, they never had to know, and it wasn't like the word came ingrained with sentimentality. Jean gingerly counted it out again, ending with fathers. Guys, this book is really good. I deserve to get better. I don't know if I said this. Jean is going to like exposure therapy for his water, his like fear of his trauma from water. And the doctor says, I'm glad you came back. I wasn't sure you would. There was no point lying. I didn't want to, but the easy excuses fell apart. They were still true, but they rang hollow in the moment. It was Riemann's voice in his head, Riemann's and his friends and Neil's drowning out his miserable thoughts and excuses with unrelenting force. Jean squeezed his hands until his fingers went numb and willed himself to believe the words as he slowly spoke them into existence. I deserve to get better. You will, the doctor said with an easy and unhesitating compassion that would somehow keep Jean sane during this horrible session. And you will. 1 week at a time, Jeremy had promised him. Jean drew in a slow breath and nodded. Okay. This is crazy. I did not ever feel this way reading the first series. this is crazy. Kevin is like kind of speaking against the Ravens. Not really. Not explicitly, but the most that he has up until this point. Kevin and Neil have a little like pre-game interview, and they're talking about the Ravens, and Neil is making like little remarks, and he mentions that Gene's ribs healed fine. And the reporter's like, ribs? You said something about his ribs? Kevin, would you care to explain that comment? Kevin tilted his left hand where he could see his scars. He rubbed idly at the pale skin for a few moments, then flicked a steady look at the off-screen interviewer. With all due respect, there is no point, he said. You will never take anyone's word over theirs, so you are best off asking the Ravens for the truth. But good luck. They do not know how to tell it unless one has been fed to them. I was gonna update you, and then so much stuff just happened. I had to like go back almost to the beginning of the chapter to like see what I was actually gonna say. My gosh. Okay, the Trojans they're at an away game, and they get there kind of early, and so they're in the locker room and they're watching the Foxes versus Ravens game. Crazy. And Gene is talking, and he says something like, he's like, the master would never blah blah blah, but he forgets that the rest of the team is there and that they don't know that they have to call him Coach Moriyama the master. And so they're like, what the fuck? I beg your pardon, I think I misheard you. And Kat, this is what happens. Kat took one look at him and swooped in with the best and worst distraction she could think of. You think that's creepy? Wait until you hear Kevin say it. Catalina! That horrified protest was from Gene. And then, literally, I was gonna read you that, but then the next sentence is, nah, Derek started, but the rest was forgotten when the announcers started yelling. Jeremy glanced back at the TV and saw Neil half crumpled on the court floor. Lane swung at him with her racket, and Neil managed to kick her leg out from under her just in time. She fell on him as she went down, jamming her racket sideways across his throat with every intention of breaking his neck. So obviously I had to finish reading what that was all about. If I could read you those like 4 pages, I would. Like the Ravens just immediately attacked the Foxes. Since they're all animals, it sounds funny. The Ravens attacking the Foxes. Like, but they they did. They just like they got in the court immediately. Like tried to kill him basically. So the Foxes team nurse was hunched over Neil as she checked on him, and the tension in her expression was not at all reassuring. I was like, is he like dying? Like, is he gonna die? Is he dead? I was freaked out. This made me like miss Neil. I want to like I reread the full first series last year in preparation for the Sunshine Court, and I love Neil, of course, who doesn't, but I was sort of like, I was okay being done with his story and moving on to Gene's. After that, Neil, come home, the kids miss you. Like, I need actually 3 whole more books. I actually need a book like for every like next year of school he has. I need to see the Foxes and the team and Neil being like vice captain. Like, need to see that he's okay after this, because this is all just insane. And then now after watching that and Gene flipping out, understandably, they have to go play a game. I'm like kind of having to like cover the bottom of the page so I don't like spoil myself. Like, this isn't really the type of book that you can spoil, I guess, but like I think I'm gonna record myself reading this. They're at halftime right now, and the coaches have gotten some information regarding the Foxes and the Ravens and the game that just happened and the violence that ensued. So let's just I'm just gonna hold you here. the ERC suspended Edgar Allan for the rest of the season. I'm reacting to this like this is the real world and I care about these sports teams. This is a fake world and I care about these fake sports teams. So this is so exciting. They're suspended for the rest of the season. They're disqualified. These seem like the simplest lines, but like they're killing me. Gene's listing teammates he got along with at Edgar Allan. Thea, Kevin, Finn, Sergio most of the time, Brayden, Colleen, Zane. The last was so quiet Jeremy almost missed it. At the sharp look Jeremy sent him, Gene dug his hand into his own chest. For a moment, the grief on his face was endless. Endless! For a moment, the grief on his face was endless. But Gene schooled it a heartbeat later. That Gene could scrounge up so much emotion for a man who'd practically left fingerprints on his throat was unbearable. How Gene's kind heart had survived a place like Evermore, Jeremy wasn't sure. I think that Gene and Zane's dynamic and relationship is like one of the most heartbreaking of the series. Of the whole series. God, I can't read this book anymore. They burned down Kat and Layla's house. What am I supposed to do? I can't sit here and read this book and they burned down their house. Not only Kat and Layla's house, but Jeremy's house. Gene's house. Jeremy's trying to apologize to Gene. And he goes, Gene had come to Los Angeles with a single carry-on and 2 shirts to his name. It had taken him months to finally fill in the space Kat and Layla gave him, and he'd only recently started adding quiet personal touches to his areas. Jeremy thought of his postcard from Kevin, the wristband from July's fireworks, and the sand dollar he'd picked up along the way. It made him ill. It's making me ill. I can't keep every chapter for like the last 4 chapters has been me crying. I can't. This book is gonna kill me. And this isn't even the last book. I was never crying like this when I read the first series. I can't even like speak. I need the FBI to get out of their business. Get out of this book. Get out of Gene's face. I can't, like, I'm tired of them. Get them out. Have these characters not been through enough? Some might say too much. Just let them live. Literally let them live. Hello, we are in the home stretch. I have about 50 pages left. And I'm gonna finish it tonight. Lily mention character in the book named Lily. Yeah. Oh, it's a sick baby. It's Jeremy's therapist's sick baby. So, Neil just doing his best to expose the Ravens. Hello, can you focus on me? I'm literally the only thing in the screen. Please, please, please. Jesus Christ. Neil just like kind of doing his best to expose the Ravens, not by explicitly saying anything, but by sort of by contradicting like some lies that like Kevin or like other Ravens have told reporters, by just like acting clueless and being like, because Thea, Kevin's girlfriend, is there right now, and he's like, oh, like she was here a few months ago. She came by last spring when Gene was here. When was that? March, April, something like that. Anyways, I gotta get to practice. I gotta go. Like, it's really, really funny. And Kevin's pissed at him. Gene's pissed at him. I'm loving it because he does not care about the Ravens' possible retribution or contrition, as they call it. He just wants it all out there in the open. And I am with him. I feel like I would be doing the same thing, playing dumb about things that like reporters aren't supposed to know, or we're not supposed to tell people this. I'd be playing dumb and I'd be trying to get it out so that the Ravens just could be destroyed. Not destroyed, just like dismantled as a team. Whoa, 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 whoa. we just got here. Literally the first time we've met Jeremy's stepdad, and this is the first sentence he speaks to him. Great. Okay, I fully don't understand Jeremy. Warren, his stepdad, is saying, the attitude goes or you do. You are on thin enough ice as it is right now. The next time you fall through, I will stand at the edge and watch you drown. Do you understand me? This is my mother's house, Jeremy said. You can't tell me to leave. Call my bluff, Warren invited him. He doesn't want to Jeremy, everything that you have shown us in this book is that you do not want to be there, you don't want to live there, you don't want to be around your parents or your siblings. This is my mother's house, you can't tell me to leave. You don't want to live there. You actively avoid going there as much as you can. What is he doing? I don't understand him. I'm acting like he's a real person. I don't understand why Nora Sakavic chose to write him this way. I don't get it. I don't get it. There's something I'm not getting. Like, he is so closely monitored. He has to keep every receipt for every dollar that he spends, and, you know, give it back. And he can't, like, spend money on anything that isn't, like, accepted by his parents. So much so, like, he's so controlled. Mind you, he's a full legal adult, by the way. Mind you, he's 22 years old, yeah. He's so controlled that, the therapist that his mother appointed for him, she is paying, you know, for weekly therapy sessions. But Jeremy only goes 3 times a month, or like for one therapy session every month. He doesn't go, and his therapist, Dr. Spader, just refunds him the money in cash so that he can have some money of his own that doesn't have to be approved by his mother. And remember how all his personal documents are locked in a safe somewhere and hidden away? Honestly, best case scenario is his stepdad kicks him out. I don't understand him. I'm so confused. These Trojans, not Trojans, oh my god, no, not the Trojans. These Raven players are just dropping like flies. The team captain, Jasmine Lane, who is the one who tried to kill Neil on the court, just killed herself. It gets to a point, like, every Ravens player is gonna commit suicide. Is that, like, how we want to do things? Like, I think we know how terrible living in the nest and being a Raven is. I don't think it needs to be underscored by every player committing suicide. It's not every player. It's quite a lot of them. Quite a lot of the players. Okay, the next page, 2 more players, Braden Williams and Cameron Winter. Cameron Winter, who is Cody's cousin. I guess, like, it's trying to demonstrate, like, how bad being a Raven is, and that they would rather be dead than fail. But we know that, and we've known that for so long, for so many books. This one, the last one, I think probably 2 out of the 3 of the first series. It just feels gratuitous at this point. I am not sorry. Perhaps I should be, but I will choose you every time. You and Kat and Layla every time. I will lose them all if I must. Oh, yeah. Oh my god. Thinking back to Jean at the beginning of this book, I'm actually gonna, like, this is, I can't. I need a moment. I need a moment because this is a lot. This is a lot. Jean brushing Layla's hair like she and Kat do for each other, and then braiding Layla's hair when he starts thinking about family and brothers, and that he was a brother to Elodie. He'd buried her so deep he'd surely fall in if he looked a little too long. But the braid in his hand was a rope back to sunlight and solid ground. So Jean said she liked blackberries and sandcastles and ladybugs, but fairy tales most of all. This book ending on them getting a dog and naming him Jabberwocky Moreau. I can't. This book killed me. It put me back together again. And then it killed me again, and then it put me back together again. I can't believe it's over. Well, it's not over. There's a whole nother book. Thank God. Do I have, like, any thoughts? There were many points in this book where I was considering not giving it 5 stars, and I was considering giving it 4, and that freaked me out a little bit because every book in this series has been 5 stars, deserved or not, you know, but this was the first one that I kind of felt that I was actually like, that I was tempted to not just base it on the fact that I already liked the series. But that ending just, it got me. It got to me, yeah. So I guess I'm gonna give this 5 stars. I don't know. I'm really excited. I've been saying this the whole video. I'm really excited to go on, whoops, throwing things, to go on Tumblr and see what everyone has to say about this. Oh my god, I get to put it on my shelves. What? But yeah, that's it. You can go watch me reading the first book. I'll link it in the description, and I guess in a year you can see me reading and reacting to the 3rd book when that comes out. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.